Hey everybody, today we're talking about Psychic Sam Volume 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent and today we're talking about a Kickstarter book I just got in the mail yesterday as I record this, so you'll see it a little bit later than that. But this is Psychic Sam by Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. This is a Kickstarter edition from Side Hustle Comics, which I guess is Mark Millar's company other than Netflix in that deal and all that. Yeah, I picked this up on a whim. Well, I'm not on a whim, but I looked at the Kickstarter and said, all right, I'll check it out. And boy, this is kind of disappointing for as much as I paid for it. Now, I did opt for the hardcover. I don't think I was looking that hard and noticed that there was a softcover version available. I paid, what was it? It was a couple pounds more than I wanted to, and I say pounds because in British pounds, I think it was like 54 pounds, so, you know, exchange rate to US dollars in 2025, probably $40 or $60 in terms of that, and for that price point, this is really disappointing. So if I do, I think I will check out Volume 2, but I'm not going to get the hardcover. I'm going to opt for the softcover. So what are you paying for? You know, you're paying for an original story from Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. Now, a lot of people, I think, have soured on Mark Millar, thinking that he does some stuff that, you know, is maybe distasteful or samey or something like that. I still enjoy Mark Millar. I still enjoy his concepts. I like the fact that he skips straight to the point for many of his comic books. Like this, it's very direct. It's not heady, you know, like a lot of Grant Morrison stuff is, and you can just get into it and get out of it, and you're done. And, you know, the same thing with John Romita Jr. Like, his stuff here is classic John Romita Jr. He got Klaus Janson on inks, so it's very reminiscent of their collaboration on Kick-Ass, which I did like those comics. And you got colors by Bill Crabtree and letters by Clem Robbins, all doing great work here. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of more kick-ass, but not as funny and not as fun. And what I mean by that, like, Psychic Sam, our main character Sam here, is the guy with the guns, of course. He's got a psychic premonition of killers, basically. He has a psychic premonition of people who are going to do terrible things to other people the day before they're actually going to do it. He lives in LA, and he feels compelled, after being convinced that this is actually a thing, to go and stop something bad from happening, specifically to a kid, which we can all get behind, right? And so he goes out and he stops some thieves and some thugs and some killers and things like that, and ends up being ultra violent-y. So, you know, he's not quite the Punisher yet, but I think he's kind of going that way. So in that way, like, I've read Kick-Ass, I've read Welcome Back Frank from the Punisher series, that was a totally different team, of course, but it's kind of in that vein, and in that vein, it's not doing anything really special, I think. And only getting 60 pages out of this, while it's, you know, 60 pages isn't insignificant. I got Dracula the Brides from Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones, Volume 2, and that's 160 pages and less money. So, in an oversized format, so it's a tale of two Kickstarters, really. Like, since I mentioned it, I'll bring it up. Like, this book was less than this book. Look how much bigger this book is. Look how much thicker these books are. They're both hardcovers, right? So where's the value, really? I think you're really paying for the name of the creators. Mark Millar probably fancies himself a big shot now. You know, and I will say John Romita Jr. is one of the biggest names in comics. He can still sell books. So, of course, they both deserve to get their fair share of the profits, right? And this says, I think it's book 1 of 3. Like, they're planning on doing more. What does it say at the end? And there's a Volume 2 coming in November. With that campaign, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up Volume 1 from there as well. But yeah, if you're going to pick it up, I think just go for the soft cover. You don't really need a hardcover here unless you're a hardcover fanatic. But for the price, this is definitely soft cover worthy, not hardcover. I'll just say that. There's a couple pages of pencils in the back. That's not terrible. But the story just has him discover this ability, use it once or twice, and then end on a cliffhanger for more. So I think that's kind of where this kind of falls off a little bit. Could it be a TV show or a movie? Of course, it's a Mark Millar property, right? And this is one that I think you could sell to any network. It's not like superhero-y. It doesn't look insanely expensive, kind of like how Jupiter's Legacy was for Netflix, and I did like that show. But yeah, this was kind of disappointing for the money, honestly. It's not a terrible story. It's not bad, but it's not doing anything different or anything new. And I think for that reason, like, you could totally skip it, I guess, unless you're a really big fan of Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. I'm sure it'll be published. I want to say it's going to be published by Dark Horse. Seems like Dark Horse is picking up a bunch of these things down the line to publish them. But I know that's the case for the Dracula stuff, but I'm not sure about this. Maybe it'll be published somewhere else, or maybe by Image. I don't know. I'm sure they've discussed it. So I'm sure at some point this might be making its way to your comic store near you, or if you really are checking it out, I'm sure there's copies available when they launch the Volume 2 Kickstarter. Seems like a lot of these comic book hardcover series are doing that. But overall, the story's just fine. The art is classic John Romita Jr. of this age, in the 2020s through 2000s, the last 20 years of his career, really. Hasn't really evolved that much other than changing inkers and seeing how those inkers apply themselves differently. I wouldn't say it's like his best work. There's stuff in here that you've seen from John Romita Jr. before. It's not anything, new. And for being a Kickstarter comic, like, I've seen more violence in the Kick-Ass books he did rather than in this one. So he's not really pushing himself there either. So, yeah, I'm a bit negative on this one. When I finished it last night, I was like, how much did I pay for this? And then I looked it up and I was like, holy cow, that was not worth the money. So, yeah, maybe borrow it from a friend or get it cheap on digital-only copy if you're really that interested. But, yeah, disappointing. So those are my thoughts on Psychic Sam Volume 1. Let me know what you guys thought of this book down below in the comments if you picked it up. And I will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.